And Shelley, you did a great job of summarizing some of our pieces, but just as an entity, we're a nonprofit and we serve about 16,000 individuals annually, and try to make a difference in Westmoreland County and uplift communities and individuals and families to have more self-sufficiency and a thriving, better quality of life. So we're happy to participate and engage.
Very good. Dan, would you like to give your account?
I'll jump on for 2 seconds. I just got out of the car, so I'll be back in the office in a moment and able to better. So I think just jumping on, stepping off of that, we're real excited to be able to make additional investments in Menneson. As Shelley mentioned, we've had Head Start classrooms for a number of years in town, and we have a Federal Home Loan Bank application out that we're very excited about to build 5 houses on Motherall, and are in the process of opening a satellite office in Menneson to be able to offer direct social service supports in town. So we're very excited to be able to step in into town in a more concerted and strategic way.
Very good. Excellent. Well, let's go around the table here real quick.
And I am Amy Barfield, and I am with the Nehemiah Project. I am a treasurer there, and I am so excited to see what you are going to partner with us with. I'm excited about that. So,
I'm Linda Carson. I'm secretary for the Nehemiah Group, also secretary for the Mon Valley NAACP.
No question. Well, I'm Mike Korposh. I'm city administrator here in Menneson, and of course we have Mayor Mosier here also participating. So I can now introduce our longest traveling, he would have been guest, Kerry Kirkland, currently Deputy Secretary of the Bureau of Diversity, Inclusion, and Small Business with the Department of General Services, but also working throughout the administration with these types of programs to help instill them in each of the different agencies and departments of the Commonwealth. And where we thought, first of all, Kerry is an old friend, and we've worked together in a number of different ventures, both politically and in the business world. And Kerry has taught me everything I know about diversity and inclusion. As former head of the American Contract Compliance Association, he knows the issue better than anybody that I've encountered throughout the country. And with his current position, we talked about utilizing his contacts and services with both the Nehemiah Group, but also the United Purpose Mortgage Group and Westmoreland Community Action to form a strategic partnership to try to work together to put programs and essential services together here in Menneson over the course of the next few months. I think the first part of this is, and very importantly, has to be put together, is how we do this. And as Shelley said the other day, the logistics of this and how we work each of our groups into a partnership format and move forward is the key here. So if I could, Kerry, and I know you have to run with some administration work, you said, but if you would like maybe to tell a little bit about your background, maybe our work together, if you would like, but just to sort of fill them in on where we think we can work with your department in forming this strategic partnership over the next few days, or weeks and months, really.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. It was always a pleasure to see you, man. Michael and I have been friends for a long time. I met Michael at the Democratic Party, the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. He and another good friend of ours, Mark Single, the former lieutenant governor and former acting governor back in the 80s. Those guys sort of approached me back then and told me that they wanted to make some history. And at the time, as you guys know, we have 67 counties in Pennsylvania, and they never had a minority serve as executive director of the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. And because of Michael and people like Mark Single, they made that happen. I became the first African-American to serve as executive director of the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. And it's been a wonderful ride ever since then. I came into work in 67 counties and there was no minorities as chair of any of those counties. But you know, we left there. We thought we made the party a lot better and a lot more inclusive during those days. So I'm always, you know, thankful for Michael for his vision and his courage. I mean, we could make no mistake about it. It took a lot of courage for him and Mark to make that decision back in the 80s like that. But Michael and I have been friends ever since. I've been doing DEI programs my entire career. Michael mentioned that I've founded the American Contract Compliance Association. That's an organization that's the largest compliance organization in the world that take a look at how we're doing business with minorities and women and veteran-owned firms across the country. And even in my job now, I mean, I've been doing this for a while in state government, but it wasn't until actually 2015 when I really took on a more leadership position in state government. And in 2015, when I came back to work for a friend of mine, Governor Tom Wolf, you know, things weren't the way we thought and imagined that they would be in terms of inclusiveness in the state. During that time, we were spending about $4.5 billion to $5 billion a year on goods and services, things that it took and required to keep the government running. And out of that $5 billion, $5 billion, only 4% of those dollars was going to all the women, all the veterans, all the minority groups, all the companies who are owned by persons with disabilities, et cetera. 4%. And just to give you an idea of where we ranked in the nation, our neighbors to the south was doing about 30% down in Maryland. Our neighbors to the north, they raised their goals to 35% of their state spend that was going to those particular groups of individuals. So as you can see, Pennsylvania at that time was the laughing stock of the country when it comes to doing business with those types of individuals. You know, we talk all the time. You hear it all the time about people, and I'm a veteran, and I take that kind of language serious when people talk about, you know, veterans deserve everything they get, and then we should be fighting for our veterans every day. But you know what? We were doing less than 1/10 of 1% of our business with veteran-owned companies. I mean, we were talking the talk, but we just weren't marching the march. And you guys, and before I even begin comments, I listened very intently to the work that you guys are doing in your community. I think it's the most important work anybody could ever do in the country. I also did a lot of community work, a lot of nonprofits. My whole life is about doing work with individuals who have been underserved and underrepresented their entire lives. So I just have nothing but praise and thanks for the work that you guys are doing. I understand it, and thank you so much for serving in that capacity. But you know, as I get back to 2015, when I believe that we were the laughing stock of the country in terms of these kinds of programs, what Governor Wolf was able to do was to provide a lot of resources and assets to give us an opportunity to do better. And throughout the years, what we're able to accomplish, we went to 12% during the pandemic, and we thought that was just a tremendous growth. But as you guys know, we lost a lot of businesses during the pandemic. In fact, 41% of African-American owned companies are bellied up during the pandemic, and we're still taking a hit for that. And it wasn't just those companies, many women-owned companies, many veteran-owned companies, many Hispanic-owned companies also had a hard time surviving during that critical time in our history. But last year, we were able to do not only 11.4%, but for the first time, we nearly spent $1 billion on small diverse businesses statewide. And that was just an incredible accomplishment. What do you get for that $1 billion? You know, last year it was the first time we ever did an economic impact analysis. And I'm sure you guys understand that type of language. The critical takeaway from that analysis, it told us that we created 10,000 new jobs across the state by doing business with these groups of individuals. And I only say that because, you know, you hear a lot of critical commentary when you talk about these types of diversity programs nationwide. In fact, you guys know probably well enough that these programs have been under attack again recently, and being pulled into the culture wars, if you will, that's been associated with people criticizing these programs across the nation. You guys know the need. I clearly understand the need. And more importantly, both Governor Wolf understood it and Governor Shapiro clearly understand it. And that's why they're dumping the assets and the resources in to help us do our jobs a lot better. This year alone, we're just got finished completing some preliminary numbers, Mike. We're going to do about 15% of our spend this year. So we came a long way since back in 2015. And that's a huge jump in spend numbers in terms of how we're spending our dollars with these protected groups. So we're very proud of and in addition to that, we're going to well exceed that $1 billion mark again for the second consecutive year. Now, you guys know we spend, and to keep the government going, we buy everything from paper clips to pencils, and we build everything from hospitals to highways. And how we build those things and purchase those items is through taxpayers' dollars. Everybody should have an opportunity to participate. Think about this. Women are 51% of the population, but they were doing almost no work as company leaders in this country, in this state. I mean, once again, we weren't marching to the tune that we were talking, and we're trying to do a lot about that. Women are doing a lot better now, and they're standing up, and they're getting the kinds of opportunities that they've never had. Minorities, African American, Hispanics are getting the kind of opportunities that they've never had to do business in state government. We developed a program called the Small Business Reserve Program. It's a program that we copied from the state of Maryland. And in that particular program, Mike, 15% of every agency spend is supposed to be designated. The goal is to do 15% of every agency spend prime contractors with small business. 15%. We've never seen that before. And what we've done to try to make sure that happened, we appointed an agency liaison in every agency who's responsible, along with that secretary, to meet those goals. And in addition to that, the governor and lieutenant governor get a biannual reports in terms of how they're supposed, what's the strategy to achieve those goals. I can't tell you, when I first came into state government, how many small businesses I spoke to who told me, Kerry, you know, it's almost useless. And tell me how they go in and meet with procurement officers and have their proposals and things of that sort thrown in the trash can once they leave, walk out the door. Well, I can tell you, you know, I worked in those agencies. I understand the culture that used to exist in those agencies. And when you have people there with that mindset who's been there for 20 and 30 and 40 years, it's very difficult to change. And we've been fighting to change that culture ever since we've been back in the administration. But we've done a few things to make it easier, more efficient for these companies to do business. First thing we did, I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to pay vendors as quickly as possible. Mike, I don't know if I even shared this with you, but we just passed a fast pay policy in state government where once a prime vendor is paid, they have 10 days to pay that subcontractor. Once they're paid, you got 10 days. And the reason why we did that, we were seeing instances where those subcontractors wasn't getting paid for 60 and 90 days after the prime was getting paid. And doing that type of business, you'll be run out of business if you keep doing business in that manner. So that was very critical. Now that's dealing with procurement. Our construction didn't come totally on board yet. That's a 14-day fast pay policy. And right now we're in the process of taking a look at that 14 days, trying to get that down to a 10-day policy as well. Another thing we did, Mike, you know, sometimes it can take sometimes you go through the Department of Transportation, it can take up to a year to be certified. What we've done in the Department of General Services, we reduced that time to 10 days. We're going to assure you that you're going to be certified within 10 days if you try to become certified and verified to do business in state government through the Department of Transportation. It's a big win for everybody. Make no mistake about it. We're trying to make it more efficient. I shared with you about that SBR goal. I've been in the government for a long time. I've never seen a better opportunity for minorities, women, and veterans to do business in state government have I seen right now today. You have all the support mechanisms there. We're developing our digital footprint more efficient, making it more efficient for vendors to do business in state government. And we got an entourage of staff whose sole dedication and commitment is to help contractors do business in state government. We have an aggressive outreach campaign going on right now. Over the last several months since February, we've been crisscrossing all across the state, providing information to potential contractors, trying to get them certified, trying to get them to take a look at all the opportunities that exist in state government procurement. I mean, we're spending $5 billion a year. You have to get a part of it if you're in business. And we're going out making it easier for those companies to make that happen. You know, one of the prime things that we're trying to do right now, we had bipartisan support last year, is to codify our programs. Because anybody who knows about this type of work, in government, it depends on the values the incoming administration place on diversity and inclusion. And let's face it, folks, sometimes we have an administration come in that place a high value on these things. And when there's a high value, you're going to get the assets and the resources you need to really have a robust operation so that you could really make a difference in the lives of these vendors who are trying to do business with the Commonwealth. And I share with you what those numbers were back in 2015 and where we're at right now. You know, we did a disparity study 5 years ago. And the disparity study is designed to determine whether or not discrimination exists in the Commonwealth marketplace that prohibits full participation of these firms. And guess what? Now when we came in 2015, 4% of these businesses was going to these firms. Well, lo and behold, our disparity studies say that number should be 26.3% for small, diverse businesses, and an additional 4.6% for veteran-owned businesses. And if you do the math, it puts us right in line with our neighbors to the south, down in Maryland, that 30% that they're doing down there, and that 35% they're doing up in New York, our neighbors to the north. So that disparity study was very critical for us. It gave us a constitutional baseline of how we can operate constitutionally and the goals that we can set. We developed a whole new goal-setting methodology so that we can try to get closer to those goals. As I mentioned, we started off at 4%. This year, we're going to be coming in at 15%. But I just would remind you that this is not necessarily a destination. It's more of a journey, Mike, because we're fighting and scrapping for every inch of ground that we can make up. And it's not something that happens like a light switch. You don't go in and turn the light on and things are going to change overnight. It doesn't happen that way. This is a long-term strategic battle. And, you know, a good friend of mine, a fellow by the name of Dr. Arthur Fletcher, he created affirmative action in this country. He told me, you know, he was a military strategist. He served in World War II under George Patton. And he studied military strategy. He said, Kerry, you know what? If you apply this to your work, he said, you know, one of the reasons why people try to stop these type of programs from happening, they try to make these type of vendors, these type of companies feel that they can't win. So they stop trying. Make them feel that they can't win. When you bring those proposals into those agencies, throw them in the trash can, or don't consider them. Don't give them full consideration. Or just you lose, and you get this attitude and mentality that I can't win, so I'm ready to give up. I've never been that type of an individual. We're going to fight to the end. You know, I did a speech before a group of 5,000 veterans down in Ocean City, Maryland. And I love this guy when he introduced me. He was talking about, we're going to march down to Washington and we're going to knock on every legislator's door and we're going to make sure we fight and get everything that veterans deserve. and we're gonna fight until hell freezes over. And then we're gonna fight on the ice. And I just love it because, you know, we're in a position right now where we just cannot give up. I mean, I know that's a strategy of some individuals to think that you're gonna make it so difficult that women will stop trying to do business in the Commonwealth, that minorities will stop trying to do business with the Commonwealth, that veterans won't care anymore and just walk away. But my mindset has always been, it's not about me as a veteran. It's not about me as a minority. Man, this is about my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids. We can't afford to stop. That's just the bottom line. You know, I mentioned that, you know, I did some work at some other agencies out there that over in DCED, and you guys are working in the community. I mean, they have tax credit programs. They have grant programs that a lot of times towns like Menneson never even tap into. And I know that because I used to come out to the western part of the state and articulate what these programs are. And plus, I'm on the evaluation committee to see who gets part of the action, part of the dollars. And you rarely see small towns in between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh take advantage of some of these grant dollars, some of these tax credits that are out there. We just don't, for some reason, we're not applying for the money. And it's not that it's not there. Many times, and these dollars are specifically designed for nonprofit organizations. Right. But we don't apply, and we don't try to get in the fight, and we don't try to get a part of that action. Mike, you know about RCAPs. You talk about economic development. Right. And we built a stadium in York, Pennsylvania behind it with the help of an RCAP. Rehabilitation Capital Assistance Program. It's a program that's a legislative a grant program. And you can get $10 million or so to do economic development projects in your local communities. Same thing with the Keystone Opportunity programs, with the Elm Street programs and Main Street programs. They got anchor building funds that help you go in and rehabilitate buildings in your communities. You know, not just creating jobs, but making a better life for the community residents there as a whole. Tax credit programs. Tax credit programs where it's a matching type of program where you go out and get businesses to donate and they can write it off on their taxes. Man, I'm watching cities really rebuild their downtowns with those types of programs and those types of funds. And if you haven't looked at those programs, you take a look at that Keystone Opportunity Program over in the Department of Community and Economic Development. Take a look at those tax credit programs that they have there. Take a look at the RCAP programs and all the grant programs that they have in state government that's designed for communities that you guys are serving. It's a tremendous opportunity. I can't guarantee that you're going to get it, but I can guarantee you this, the funds are available. The funds are available if you're hungry enough to apply for it. They got people that can provide technical assistance. They help you apply for it. And if I were you, I would aggressively take a look at those types of initiatives that can help you guys get to where you're going. Make no mistake about it. I understand the difficulties. I worked so I still stand to get on a picket line when people are not represented from my community in economic development projects. I see it all the time. Where you see these programs are coming in, and I'm not seeing any minority contracts. I'm not seeing any minority workers. We're sitting down and we're negotiating. It has to happen. We can't turn our backs. We can't take an ostrich approach. But we also have to take advantage of a lot of the resources that are out there that's specifically designed for communities like Menneson, communities like where I'm from, York, Pennsylvania. Those small towns, 45,000 people, sometimes are forgotten communities because it's in between that zone between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And I'm not hard on Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. I like both those cities. But one thing I do know, we have to fight to get our share as well. No one's gonna just give it to you. We gotta strap it up and get in the ring, and we're gonna have to fight for it. Anything, Mike, I can do to point you in the direction that I may be able to assist you in what you guys are trying to do. As you know, Mike, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted everyone to hear today is your commitment and your partnership with us that you told me earlier. But the next steps in the process, as the mayor said, is to put together our plan with our Nehemiah Community Development Corporation here that's looking to instill home ownership, Kerry, in these areas to folks who haven't had the opportunity to own a home before and learn how to do it ahead of time and then get into those homes, you know, as longtime homeowners in the community, creating an economic legacy. This is where United Purpose Mortgage comes into the partnership with us. They want to work with us to help put together the plan to do this, along with the Nehemiah Group. And then also we'd like to structure it with Shelley of Westmoreland Community Action to have them involved also as one of our strategic partners in the whole process. And what, Kerry, you indicated to me and what we can talk about and I can get you more information on is the workforce development dollars, the related programs that you just outlined to help us in the work to put together the program needs for the community, but also under the guise of diversity and inclusion, which is one of our tenets and hallmarks of what we're trying to do. But I think everybody can see, and I don't know how long you can hang on here, Karen, but there's a commitment here from your group and shop to do that, and we can continue working to define it and refine it over the next few weeks and months, but we need to do that as quickly as we can, but also with some help that you can provide in maybe earmarking some of those programs or showing us where we might be missing something in the processes. And this is why I know your commitment, and you've outlined it to everybody today, is strong and it will be there. And that's as a friend and brother, I appreciate that very much.
Hey, Mike, you know, not only DCED, but those grant dollars and workforce development dollars are also in the Department of Labor and Industry. Right. I don't know if you guys been visiting their websites and taking a look at the programs, but if you haven't, I would strongly recommend you begin doing that as soon as possible. Okay. The more knowledgeable you become, where those grant dollars lie, the more of an opportunity you're going to get to be successful in getting some of those dollars.
Right. But this is such a neat opportunity with the amount of properties that we're demolishing here, Kerry, blighted properties, to put folks into those homes down the road with affordable housing and housing that they can be proud of for the future. And all of these folks at the table today are key elements of that process. I think we can work together to put something in a specific package very soon with you, and I'd love to do that.
Anything that I can do to help Mike. Now you know the silo that I operate out of. Specific. Right. I do business programs. However, you know, as I mentioned to you, I'll be more than happy, you know, to point you in the right direction, get right. You the folks who could potentially come out to Monessen and put on, you know, presentations to help you clearly understand where those dollars lie and how to apply them.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And other parts of the administration too. If we could get a little conclave together of DCED and some of the others to sort of present that all at one time, I think that would be very helpful.
I think that's something you should be shooting.
Kerry, you did neglect to tell, and I thought it was another achievement that we made in the Harrisburg area, was we were able to work with the administration, the Clinton administration, and Kerry was promoted to SBA regional administrator. Kerry, I'm trying to remember the exact date that you served in that position, but you understand those federal programs and related services very well also. And one of the fact, I just like to tell the group a quick funny story, Kerry, was when we were doing that, we were in the office one afternoon and the phone rang and I picked it up and the woman said, "Can you hold for a second?" And I said, "Sure." And a voice came on and said, "This is Bill Clinton. I'd like to talk to Mark Single." And I said, "Yeah, Bill Clinton, right." Yeah. And he said, "Don't hang up on me." I said, Okay, so I put him on hold and I got Martin, he's like, it's really him. But that was when Kerry was going through the nomination process and he was successful, and that was another kudo to you, Kerry. But it's another part of the quiver that we have here, or the quill that you have that experience also on federal level related programs and SBA matters, which can also help, I think, all of us in these ventures that we're looking at.
Hey, as I mentioned, Mike, this is clearly a strategic engagement that I would recommend. And you guys are already on the right path. I love the fact that there's, so many lenders on the call, folks who understand, getting dollars to the community, home ownership. I mean, that's the basics of self-help, basically.
Absolutely.
And economic empowerment and throughout community. So I know folks understand that. I was lucky enough and had the opportunities to do the same thing at a very high level within the federal government. And even on the federal side, Mike, if there's anything that I can recommend or help in that area, I'll be happy to do that as well.
Anybody have any questions with Kerry? Because as I said, I know he has to run in a bit here. But we're going to continue to move the process forward and schedule a meeting with Kerry here in the next few weeks, now that you're allowed to travel again through the administration. During the budget impasse, I guess there was a little bit of a limit on that, but you're open now, right, Kerry?
Yeah. We're open for business across this Commonwealth, Mike.
No, but I mean, to get back here, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
In fact, I talked to Lorraine today and I told her that I was going to be on this call and expect a call from you so we can try to arrange something soon, Mike.
I'll call tomorrow. We're going to set the date for our next Nehemiah meeting tomorrow. That might be the opportune time to have you come back and meet with everybody personally. And that one is also going to have some input with our business community. We're going to be inviting them to the same meeting to tell them what we're doing, to include them and see if there's other strategic partners that can come to the table to help United Purpose Mortgage and Community Action and others in the process. So yeah, tomorrow at the latest Friday, we'll know that date, and I'll be working with Lorraine.
One of the things that I mentioned that we're going to engage in is very aggressive community outreach initiative, in which some of my team go out to various communities and talk about how to engage in business with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And we're targeting anyone who's in business. So maybe we could talk about that as well at some point, Mike, in your area.
Yes. Okay. All right, Carol. Well, any questions from the group here?
No, I really appreciate the information. I think this is very important to us.
Hey, just thank you.
Carol, I appreciate your time, and I'll be in touch with you guys in the next few days.
Hey, man. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Always good seeing you.
Same
Everybody
here.
be safe, and thank you for the work that you do.
Hey, brother.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Well, folks, that's what we were trying to get across today, though. I think we have a real strategic partner there in the administration with them. Kerry is here and will help, and he wants to come back. He just needs to know a little bit more about the Nehemiah Group and United Purpose and what we're trying to do in an overall sense. And I'll get that information, more of it, to him, so he can craft a plan with both workforce development dollars and other programs that he's talking about, and help us sort of as a guide to find some of these. I mean, Mayor and I run out of hours here every day with some of the things to look for grants and other opportunities, but with some of this strategic help, I think we'll get there, which I think will benefit all of us. And I know the commitment that Chris and Aaron have, and Shelley. So I think this is a neat group that's really going to work. I feel that. And if anybody has more input into it this afternoon, I'd love to hear it. If not, we can continue discussions later in the week and throughout the next few days as we schedule our next meeting.
Ooh. I'm sorry, I'm being me here. Let's get the soup to nuts. What's the strategy that we want to employ? We got everybody here. Let's talk about how we can create the effect that we want to have. What's the direction we're going? We got a lot of overview and great partnerships. but faith without work is dead. So I'm a person that wants the rubber to hit the ground. So
Yeah, yep. What I saw, Darren, is how we can structure this, and then if we all agree to it, I think we can move ahead, is right at the moment, we need some dollars to try to get into the account here to do some initial programming that we want to do through the Nehemiah Group, but we need a strong presence because the Nehemiah Group is a new entity. And you guys, for all intents and purposes, are a newer entity to present to these folks, and that's where the Westmoreland Community Action comes in to help us do that. What Kerry feels is if when I get him more information and we can structure this, is that he could find funding into the community action coffers along with the Nehemiah Group as the implementing agency, and you guys as part of the team doing the home ownership seminars and getting people ready to purchase the home. What we need is the startup capital to do that, and he feels we can start that process with a formation of a strategic partnership and a plan to present to them, and he would be able to provide some seed funding for us. That's my first step into it. From there, we need to really clarify and really refine how we all work together on a daily basis to increase these development opportunities, helping the community and also helping your groups to do business. That's sort of where I'm thinking, it's the start is, but we still need a lot of help with your input to refine it.
I'm okay with that.
I hope that makes sense. And
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't want to speak for my whole group. Also, my VP is on here, our leader, Lamarcus, is on here as well. I just want to say that we got to figure out for myself how I work, my mindset is that to figure out the plan. I know the dollars and cents makes a big part, but there's a lot of grassroots stuff that we can do and we've accomplished already. So I want to start marketing that this is what we're going to do. We're going to have seminars, classes. Who's going to coach those? Who's going to teach them? We have curriculum in mind. We have products. The last time I seen you guys said we had 97% of the vehicle. We just need people to drive it. So our real issue becomes, sorry,
you were
I'm trying not to echo. Sorry about
having
that.
a bit of that.
So I'm just trying to find our strategic plan as we get ready to present it. I don't want it to be at the tail end. I think is where I'm going. I think what we need are goals to lay out. As a unit, our goal is to get everybody in home ownership, close the wealth divide, teach financial literacy. Those are lofty things, but those are things that can be impacted. From those goals that I have, and I'm thinking of, then becomes what's our issues? Do we have people to drive the vehicle? How do we get those people in? Because as a lender, we got to get them qualified. They got to be educated on doing it. Qualified buyers is going to make sure change. Then we go into another issue of, do we have workforce development? Because they need to be employed and able to purchase the homes, no matter if we gave them a tax abatement, tax credit, gave it to them for $1, they got to be able to maintain the home ownership. So I'm big on finding and partnering with everybody on the call to start the education out. The last place we visited was the coffee shop. They said we do our curriculum here. Let's start pushing towards that. Even if we're just talking about basics every once in a while, just to start getting some traction, because no matter if we got $2-3 million, it's just going to sit there with no plan, and it's going to really sit there with no people.
Right.
So that's just my 2 cents.
I agree, Aaron, and I think they're great points.
Okay, we're talking about home ownership, but the Nehemiah project is also looking at trying to establish small business like incubators for people that want to get into owning their own businesses and stuff.
I love it.
And that's one, we're always talking about just home ownership, but that, one of our goals or one of our visions is also, because we have some small businesses that have already started it. Like we have two corner stores that have opened. They might need help improving themselves. There might be other people that want to start a small business. So I think that's something else that, as we're talking about moving forward, is small business ownership and entrepreneurship.
Love it.
Yeah, all the
It's
creative.
the jobs that
Exactly,
creates
yeah.
the employment.
Right.
I believe that, that also, that we can impact that, because as we spoke about getting them qualified, educating people from the home ownership side, some of those people that want to own businesses can be impacted by the knowledge of credit, the knowledge of budgeting, different things like that. And those are some things that we offer. So, my biggest thing is, don't use me, don't abuse me, but use me, because we are a resource here. And, while we are, you know, Aaron, myself, Lamarcus, everybody, sometimes we wish we could clone ourselves just because we get pulled in multiple directions. But, the reality of it is we love what we do. And to a certain extent, Kerry, I love what he had to say. But I think all of us are aware of the fact of what our goal and our mission is here. And as Aaron said, we just, we have the vehicle. We just need some people to put in the driver's seat so it can be driven.
I agree. Well, guys, I had put together some notes on this that I don't think got to you or Kerry for some reason. And I had some computer issues that the mayor of my home computer, I think is fixed. So if I could get that to you, Aaron and Chris, it was a shell of sort of what you're talking about, of how we foresee this happening from the top down, and then working from there to refine that. I think that'll help us a bit. It was sort of to start really putting some meat on the bones kind of thing.
Love it.
But in all the discussions that we've had with everybody, including Shelley, everybody thinks the concepts are perfect and the theme is good. We just have to know what our objectives, goals, and where we're going with this to then take it to Harrisburg to say, this is us. I mean, this is our groupings. This is our strategic partnerships. This is where we want to go. And I think it falls in line exactly to what you're saying, Aaron and Chris. But I had just a little more specifics to it of, where the finance would go, how these things would be put together, and how we would work together over the course of the long term. Which I think is what we want. I think we want to have this where it's a template that we can always use.
Agreed. Yes, sounds good.
Okay. Shelley, your team, anything to say on with a little more substance, but we're still getting there. But anybody have any thoughts or what you're hearing? Does it sound like something that you might entertain as a strategic partner with us? Uh-oh. There she is. Shelley?
Oh, you're muted. I'm gonna start talking then. I think there's a lot of areas that we'll be interested in and can help support that. Shelley's team, we have HUD certified housing counselors. They can do financial education and pre-home buyer classes and stuff. So I don't know if we have a Nesson date scheduled yet. Shelley would be the details on that, but that's something we'll be getting scheduled shortly. And we're looking at locations for new office space in Menneson. So we'll be hopefully offering some of those services right in town within the next couple months, but are definitely interested in coordinating. I think across the board, we've run tax credit programs in other municipalities in the county. for a number of years, and hopefully we'll be working with our donors over the next couple months to look at whether or not we have donor interest in a qualified tax credit program around revitalization and business development in Menneson. There's a number of moving parts on that with the donors and with DCED, but we're very interested in looking at the strategic fit of that, and having kind of a strong community group and community plan in place is an asset in supporting the likelihood of the tax credit approval from DCED. So I think these conversations link into that very well over that's a lengthy process. That application will be next spring to start next fall. But we'll be starting that process in probably 2 or 3 months to hit the funding cycle. But I think links in really well, and potentially could be a nice injection of funds around business startup that folks were talking about, in a variety of supports in the business community, but also to touch a variety of other community assets.
Okay. Well, maybe that would be a good thing too, if you look at some of these notes that I can get to you tomorrow, that will just provide a little more substance, that we can start putting some more thoughts into how we structure this in a more firm fashion, if that's acceptable to you. And I like the idea of using United Purpose as our most favored nation group to do this, because they're already starting and have a curriculum set up, and they could help with the implementation of that. And they know the community, and they're committed, which is I love that too, to work with you on that part of them, if that would work. I mean, I think we have to vet all this and work through it, but I think it offers tremendous opportunity. If that makes any sense at this point. But I think we need to really look at some of those specifics and work from there.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to learn more about that. I can't say I know a ton, but I think that's something we should swing around on and have some more detailed conversations about, and learn a little bit about the fit around the housing counseling and stuff. Some of that's licensed service from the state, so we have to make sure we're following our state and federal guidelines from PHFA and HUD on the provision of those services. But I'd love to. We don't have a ton of capacity on board yet, or reach into the community, and that's things that we need to build and develop out. So partnership on that would be a huge asset. We have, I mentioned the redevelopment stuff. We are just wrapped up a 6-year program in New Kensington that touched on a number of the issues, not the home ownership end on that program. That was more focused on the business community and some community assets, parks and stuff. Would love to do a tour up there sometime if there's interest. We can look at some of the projects we help support up there. We can set that up anytime. I think that would be a interesting afternoon. We can meet with some city folks up there, both community and government up there. We can facilitate if there's interest in that. Look at some of the things that we did and fit into the funding paradigm of these, it's neighborhood, neighborhood partnership program, tax credits with DCED.
Okay. Chris, Aaron, anything more to add at this point, or we want to sort of wait and look at some of the shell of what I did and work from that point to,
I want to look at the shell, go from there as well. I don't want to speak for everybody, just Aaron with it. Dan, I would love to go on a tour. We do have access to PHFA. We're working a pilot program. We're one of 4 livers statewide that does this program. So we're solid. We're the largest bond lender in the state.
Perfect.
Okay, excellent.
So we have every program needed for that. Plus we have our broker programs. So our stuff goes hand in hand. We got some programs coming online. Won't put a date on it, but as soon as possible for rehab, coupled with down payment assistance. So that's the part of the vehicle. We also want to do some around counseling and help with that if we can, so we can give a foothold. Volunteer time, we do that with other agencies now. So we do some classes and step in with them to help out, working with that pilot program that we're a part of. So any ways that we can work together and bring those two pieces together, we're all for it. I'm for the tour. I'm about to put my email in the chat. And then we can go from there.
Okay. Chris, anything you'd like to add?
Just a couple things because right now my it's a good thing, but my wheels are turning about that because just that, as was mentioned earlier, some of the backbone of this whole program and project has to be tied in to small business ownership and building, building the tax base in Menneson also, and having those opportunities, because naturally, from a convenience standpoint and from a pride standpoint, some of the prospective business owners are going to want to live in their community and be relatively close to where where their business is, and tie that in hand to hand. So we also have some programs that can work out for business owners that may not otherwise qualify through tax returns and things like that to purchase homes, but through bank statement programs, DSCR, in which, that gives them an opportunity to purchase some investment property, multi-units, just off of the revenue that the investment properties bring. So that we also have a database, or build a database within the community of landlords that, because let's face it, even though we'd like to think that everyone is not cut out to be a homeowner, but we also want to build more responsible and more self-invested investors that are also part of their community.
Yes.
Yes, I love that.
So that's enough for me. I've rambled on enough, but I really look forward to it. This kind of re-energized me too. This was a great idea.
Okay, good. Well, I'm happy everybody could participate. Shelley, your team have anything more to add for the good of the order, or are we okay to move on some of the points that we said, get you that information, and then work for our next meetings to sort of brainstorm out and see where we're at? If that makes sense. Like I said, I don't want to I need the input, and the mayor needs the input from you guys to sort of structure it. So whatever ideas you have in addition to what we come up with today, always welcome with email or calls, and continue to move it ahead.
Yeah. Shelley was texting that she's having some internet problems. I think I understand that she's either has contacted or has already chatted a little bit with Aaron and Chris, but we'll circle around so we can get together and start talking some details.
Okay.
And make sure we're on the same page. It sounds like there's some great opportunities there. I'm excited to learn more about what you guys are doing. It sounds like you're kicking ass and ready to be kicking more ass, which is super cool. I'm excited. So I think on our end we're good today, and we got some homework to do and figure out how we can start moving things.
Yeah, I agree with Aaron's premise. It's time to do that. Yeah. Time to move that ahead. All right, I commit to doing that by the end of the week to get you my notes, and then we'll reschedule another one of these, or our next firm meeting with Nehemiah. As I said, we're going to try to meet with the businesses of the community at the next one, which may be a good meeting for you to be at. So we can talk that through also.
Yes.
That's our October 5th. But we were talking about another meeting too, so but we'll sort of coordinate with ourselves, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you for your time here. I really appreciate it. I know everybody here does. And I think we have some good starting points to work with from here. And I'm excited. Yeah. I think this is good stuff.
I'm looking forward to it. Everyone have a blessed evening.
You
So I'll
too.
see you again.
You
Okay.
too. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
welcome.
thank you very much.
Yeah, we're looking at the fifth.
Have a good night.
Right, okay.
Good night.
Either the end of October or